time for the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right, good evening, everybody. It is 8 o'clock. It's Sunday night. It is time for episode... What number is it, Brian?
Ron, we're up to episode 233, and that's only counting the episodes that we numbered.
That's right.
I mean, if you remember in the late 80s when you and I were first doing the podcast, we did episodes, but we weren't giving them names based on the number of the episodes, but we were giving the episodes names based on what we were wearing.
True.
If you remember, I had, my personal favorite episode was Blue Sweater, Black Hat. We'll never top that.
I don't know. I mean, I thought Halter Top Assless Chaps was really your pinnacle of an episode.
Well, it was the one where I exposed myself the most, physically, sure, but also emotionally. I think one of the things that, really boosted the numbers on that episode was, I opened myself up quite literally, but also spiritually. I mean, we really talked about a lot of my insecurities that one. And for some reason, the fans really connected with that.
They really, really did. So, how are you doing otherwise this week, my friend?
Otherwise, I'm doing pretty good. I had a very fun weekend. NFL Sunday has not been fun to me. But otherwise, I think myself, as along with most of America, and this show is global.
Right.
People across the world are watching this. So, I very much hesitate to really make this an American show. But one of the things that I am, along with most Americans, I'm getting ready for Thanksgiving. I mean, this is my personal, Super Bowl of meals. It's I'm looking forward to it. So a lot of this is, let me get through today so I can be one day closer to what I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, it's going to be a good week. Going to be a good meal. So
Yes.
we are looking forward to that. Well, let's get things going then. It's time for Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie!
Salud.
Drink of the Week.
Sláinte!
Who's?
Drink of the week, drink of the week, drink of the week, drink of the week.
Brian, what are you drinking this week?
This week, Ron, I reached out to our friends at Dogfish Head Brewery, and I said, people, you've been supplying me with the 90-day IPA, but I've seen recently you guys have been doing a 90-minute Imperial IPA.
Ooh.
Now, I'm gonna show you this in a glass, and you can tell me whether it is not the most beautiful thing.
It looks pretty solid.
Yes. So this is absolutely delicious. I'm assuming it's going to be delicious.
Let's hope.
Continual hopping, Ron. If you have ever heard of continual hopping, that is throughout the brewing process, constant delivery of hops from point of mash to almost to the point of bottling. It provides a beautiful balance to this Imperial IPA, allowing Dogfish Head Brewery 90-minute Imperial IPA to add a foolhardy amount of hops throughout the boil without making it crushingly bitter. With rich pine and fruity citrus hop aromas and a strong malt backbone, 90-minute Imperial IPA created a pungent, unapologetic flavor that Esquire magazine called the best IPA in America.
Wow, that is high praise. Take a sip. Let me know what you think.
Ron, this is utterly delicious.
Well, all right, good.
Listen, you know me. I've been on a Pilsner lager kick. Every now and then, I enjoy the flavor of an IPA. This is coming in at 9% ABV. And did I mention that it's coming in a 16-ounce can.
That is a lot of alcohol. It's going to be a
Is
good night for Brian.
This is going to be a good night for me, and I also have some Bullet bourbon in my Mount Everest cup. So this is going to be lit.
It's going to be a good night. Well, I look forward to hearing you in about 15 to 20 minutes.
Can you not hear me now?
No, I can. I was just saying as you drink that 9%er.
Ron, as we were just talking about, what are you drinking this week?
So this week, I decided to skip the beer this week, going with Jameson 12 Special Reserve Irish Whiskey. Brian, I know you're a fan of the Jameson.
Love the Jameson.
Lovely hue to it. On ice, ready to take a sip.
Wait a second. So you're just going with Jameson 12-year Irish whiskey?
I am. Yes, exactly.
Oh, be still my. Oh, that hurt. I just slapped my hand against my chest, and I realized that what I had just, a lot of people have reached out already this episode. I see it in the comments where they're like, "Hey, Brian, what is that pin you're wearing?" And that pin, if I can hold it up correctly, is the newest item in our merch store, sold out of our first printing this past week.
I didn't realize it was going to be that popular.
We printed up the official Ron professional headshot pin. This comes professionally backed and lacquered, made in America. You just slap this on any lapel of the suit that you are wearing into your power meeting, and people see this lapel pin, they see this pin, you wear this to your family dinner. People are not asking you about who you voted for. People are no longer interested in what your sexual orientation is. They want to talk about the pin. They want to say, hey, who is that gentleman, and why does he look like he's going to sell me something I don't need, but I'm going to buy it? So people, if you haven't purchased it already, go to our website, click on the store icon. Members of our Patreon at the aluminum level or higher, that's pretty much everyone. Anybody who has signed up for our Patreon, you will get a free pin. Boom. All you have to do, go to our website, purchase it in the store for people who are not members of our Patreon. Members of the Patreon, send us an email at ronandbrianpodcast@gmail.com.
I can see where that would be difficult for you to remember.
Ron, how's your Jameson?
Delicious. Yeah, absolutely delicious. So I will be enjoying that this evening. So we're both going to be lit come after dark, which will take place at 9:30 for those of you that are Patreon subscribers. But we'll get into that. But we'll do the Patreon plug later on in the show. In the meantime, it's time for Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
The New York Jets.
And why is that? I mean, apart from the obvious.
Because I made the mistake of betting $50 on the New York Jets today.
Wow. And how'd that turn out for you?
Okay, this is the thing. They're getting 3.5 points on the road against the New England Patriots, who have been utterly disappointing this year.
That's very true.
Jets have been surprisingly a sturdy bet.
They've been competitive.
Not a guarantee, but this is let's be honest, this Jets team has the best record after 10 weeks than any Jets team that I can remember.
It's pretty close.
Not since the days of Mark Gastineau and Joe Klecko.
Good memory.
Wow, I remembered those two names from my childhood. The Jets have not been anywhere near what we're looking at. So, fourth quarter, late, 1 minute left. The Patriots are tied 3-3. I'm thinking to myself, this game's going to end on a field goal. I could care less who wins. But the only thing I don't need is a touchdown at this point. Jets are deep in their territory.
Right.
Click a punt on 4th and long with, I would say, about 50 seconds left in regular time. The Patriots punt returner catches the ball, I would say, on his 40, runs it back for a touchdown. Patriots win by 7. Brian loses his bet.
Ouch. That stings, my friend. I can imagine why that would hurt.
Listen, when I was in college, they called me the king of bad beats. And that wasn't just because the local street gang liked to attack me as I was getting off the bus and walking to the dorms. It's also because I'm a terrible gambler and have awful luck. Ron, what's your beef of the week?
So my beef of the week is when certain individuals have issue admitting that I am better than them at something. So I will take, for example, Brian, are you familiar with that New York Times game Wordle?
Wordle?
You know, you get a different 5-letter word. You get 6 chances.
Sure.
So yes,
I'm familiar with Wordle.
I'm in a group chat.
You're still playing Wordle?
I am.
So Wordle is so 2020. I mean, I can't even remember when I last played Wordle.
Well, you know, it's just something I enjoy, and I have a group text where we play Wordle on a daily basis. Now,
Sure.
mind you, this person is one of the few individuals lucky enough to be able to connect with me outside of the podcast throughout the week.
Sure,
And
sure.
listen, I was an English major. Word games are a little bit of a forte of mine. And every time that I beat this individual in Wordle, well, which is quite often, it seems, the vitriol, the hate, the accusations that come at me. Like just the other day, I got it in 3. I believe this person got it in 5. He referred to me as the Harvey Weinstein of word games. And it cuts me deep, and it makes me feel bad for that person. So if you're out there, if you have a competitive competition between friends, you know, don't be like this individual. That just hurts.
Ron, have you ever, how do I say this politely? When you were in school, were the special kids segregated into other classrooms, or did you interact with them as well?
I believe they were separated at that point.
Okay, good. So you'll understand what I'm about to say. You know, when you're in a pool hall on a Friday night at 11:30, smoke is filling the air. The smell of stale beer permeates every material that you're touching. And how do I say this? A kid limps up wearing one shoe that's got soles that are this thick, and he's wearing a plastic helmet on his head connected at the bottom, and he's holding his
I feel this is going down a path that I just needed to interrupt.
All I'm saying, Ron, is that at some point, maybe to boost, you know, to aid in this other person's low self-esteem, maybe you take it easy on them one day. Maybe you let them.
Every now and then I throw one. I'll get it in 5 when I could have gotten it in 2. But it's just, I don't know. Even with that, the anger that I get back, it just seems unreasonable.
Can I say what my runner-up beef of the week was?
Of course.
I recently was having an emotional meltdown. You know me. I'm very in touch with my mental health.
You wear your heart on your sleeve. We know this.
I have no problem admitting to people when I'm hurting, when I am going through times, when I am suffering. Earlier this week, there was a day where I was waiting for the subway, and I had played a game called Wordle. I don't know if you're familiar with this game. It's on the New York Times website. I think you can also play in their app. What happens? I don't know. I'm surprised you never heard of it. It's as an English major, but what they do is you have 6 attempts to guess a 5-letter word.
Yes,
And
I believe we just discussed Wordle.
Okay, so I was playing against 2 people who I'm in a group chat with, and we compare our scores every day. And I was very proud of my score that day. I think I came in at 4 out of 6, and it was what I considered a particularly difficult. This was a particularly difficult. Hey, we both saw that comment at the same time. It just hurts. It just hurts. And I was so proud of my 4 out of 6. I remember I shared my score with you. At which point you returned with a 3 out of 6. Your wife returned with a 3 out of 6. Seconds later, the level of damage that did to my self-esteem that morning, immediately on the subway platform, I started crying. I took a photo just to show how hurt I was. And this person, who I might be doing a podcast with right now,
Sure.
immediately saved this photo and spent the rest of the day sending me back memes of me crying on the subway platform. It hurt. It hurt.
Would you say those memes were more or less hurtful than having lapel pins made up of a photo that you may not consider flattering of yourself?
You don't think this is a flattering photo of you, Ron?
It's not one of my favorites. Let's put it that way.
That's right, people. For only $5, go to our web store. This is the back. This is the front of the pin. Look at that beautiful photo of Ron while also judging me for my dry hands. Look at that beautiful. Comes with a nice rubber backing. Fits perfectly. Will not damage your clothing. And you have your own Ron corporate headshot. Corporate headshot, Ron, is what we're going to call this one.
All right. Well, Brian may have lost on his Jets bet, but he is always good for 2 solid football picks per week. That's right. It's our NFL Locks of the Week.
Locks.
Brian, again, your Jets game didn't go the way you wanted to, but otherwise, congratulations to you. You were looking at that Giants game. Giants were -4 versus Detroit. You said, you know what, these Giants are not the real deal. Go with Detroit +4. Sure enough, Detroit wins outright 31-18. And then Washington, a rare favorite this week, -2.5 versus Houston Texans. You said, you know what? It's rare that Vegas favors the Commanders, so I'm taking them. And sure enough, you didn't even need 2.5 points. Washington in a blowout, 23-10, bringing you to, what is that, a perfect 22-0 this year?
Listen, this was a no-brainer. The nation was watching the Commanders take on the unbeaten 8-0 Eagles last Monday night. One game, the entire nation is enthused. Commanders dominated. I knew it was going to happen. And the Giants, they had a good start in the first half of the season. I expect them to collapse to this half. The 2-0, I can't even brag about. Ron, how I am stunned. You took 2 huge gambles this week, really stuck your neck out on the line reputation-wise, and once again, proving to the world why we all should be listening to you. You also went 2-0. Bengals -5.5 at the Steelers. Bengals win by 7. You also said Bills -7 over the Browns. The Bills win by 8. Not huge margins of victory, but instead of sweating out the games at the end of the day, the Ron endorsement lock of the week should be enough. You also increase your record by 2-0 this week, bringing you to a season total 22-0.
All right. Brian, who do you like for week 12 of this NFL season?
This week, Vikings -3.5 over the Patriots. Belichick sucks. Seahawks -3.5 over the Raiders. I don't know who the Raiders coach is, but he sucks.
All right, fair enough.
Ron?
Yes.
Who do you have as your locks of the week?
I like some big underdogs this week. I think it's too late in the season to be laying double-digit odds on anybody. So Detroit +10 versus the Buffalo Bills. And then those Houston Texans who you bet against this week, I'm taking them next week. Houston +12 versus the Dolphins. So lock them in because they're our locks of the week.
There we go. Excellent, Ron. Do you want to take on the internet now? Or you want to do it a little bit later?
No, I can answer the internet now. We can do it whenever you would like, sir.
Okay. I know everybody wants to talk about Donald Trump getting back on Twitter. We're going to push that back for a couple of minutes. Right now, one of our this is a fan favorite in terms of our bits. People love Ron. People want to know more about Ron's thought process. They're tired of him being the 51% owner of the Ron and Brian podcast, and they're backing Brian in his Super Bowl bet upcoming this February. But right now, as we put that aside, Ron, you're going to answer the internet. Are you ready?
I am, as always, ready.
These questions have been supplied by our friends over at Barstool Sports. They sent this over. They said, we've been asking celebrities, probably C-level celebrities, about what their answers are to these difficult questions. But ultimately, we want to know, what are Ron's answers? Ron, you've just had a glass of Jameson. Are you ready?
I am ready. Are these multiple questions or just one question?
Oh, I have 10 questions for you.
All right. Well, then let's get right into it.
If you had to sleep in the middle of a beautiful woman and a gay man, who would you turn your back to?
Who would I turn my back to?
A beautiful woman, a gay man.
Because I don't like sleeping in the middle. I like being on the end, so I can't move my position. I have to. I mean, I don't think
you
it
are
would matter.
in the middle. You're in the middle.
Let's say I would. Well, who is on what side? Because I typically sleep on my right side.
The woman is on the left. You're in the middle. Gay man on the right.
I mean, I would probably then have to turn my back to the woman because I prefer sleeping on my right side.
All righty. That is highly offensive, Ron, and honestly, quite homophobic. Frankly, I'm disappointed. Question number 2.
Okay.
If you could have sex with one person and they die immediately afterwards, who is that person?
I don't even know. That is I can't even answer that question. It's the most ridiculous question ever.
No, Ron, you are going to answer that question. I'll repeat it to buy you some time. If you could have sex with one person,
all right,
and they die immediately afterwards, who is that person?
I mean, I guess let's go Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Now, I have a question. When you're fucking Tucker Carlson,
yes.
What's the position? Are you doing it doggy style? Is he on his back?
He seems like he'd be on his back,
pressed up to the shoulders.
Yeah, I think he's a missionary type guy.
So missionary style, Tucker Carlson. Question: is he wearing the?
I'm sorry. Is this additional questions from Barstool? Because you're not allowed follow-ups.
Would you rather sit on a cake and eat a dick, or would you rather eat a cake and sit on a dick? I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to break character for a moment. This whole show, everything that I do here, purely is to try to get a laugh out of you. Everything I do is to try and make you laugh, and to hear you break right then and there. I will ask this again: would you rather sit on a cake and eat a dick, or would you rather eat a cake and sit on a dick?
I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to eat a cake. I can always wear pants, I suppose.
No, you're sitting on a dick. It is going inside of you.
Well, that's a little bit different.
There's no pants. There's no pants here, buddy. Come on, don't read into. Don't start creating situations here.
If that's the case, I'd have to sit on the cake, I suppose.
You're gonna sit on the cake, eat a dick.
I mean, between the two, that seems the lesser of two evils for me.
All right, very good. By the way, I'd also like to point out we are only 3 questions into this bit.
This is what worries me.
I got 7 more. I think I started off strong, and then I tailored them a little bit softer. What is one celebrity you find attractive that most people don't think so?
I would say Chef Alex Gurnishelli from the Food Network.
I'm not even going to type that up because I can't spell that at this point. I've been drinking. Would you jerk off LeBron James if it meant that you had his athletic skills afterwards?
I don't think I would, no.
You would not literally give a
No,
man a hand
no follow-up
job.
questions are allowed, Brian. This is unless they were part of the 10 questions.
I feel like you're speeding this up, and I'm not appreciative. Would you rather be Pope, President, or the leader of North Korea?
I'd probably go Pope because that seems like a just kind of a figurehead type job. You don't really need to do a lot.
Interesting. If you had to teach a college course, what would you teach?
I mean, I'd probably teach an English class since that was my major.
Well, you surprisingly, your Wordle scores don't reflect that. You just got kicked out of Disney World.
Okay.
What was it? What was it you did?
Probably wearing a revealing top.
See, that's bullshit because you know that they give you a free t-shirt. We've already talked about that on Patreon multiple times when women on TikTok have shown themselves walking into Disney World wearing revealing tops, and then instead of getting thrown out, they're handed t-shirts.
Next question.
Oh,
This is Ron answers of the internet, not Brian interprets Ron's answers of the internet.
I believe as 49% owner of this podcast, I have the ability to ask follow-up questions. Ron, when you're drunk, is it better to have sex or have the ideal drunk meal?
Oh, ideal drunk meal. As I get older, much more into the drunk meal.
Okay. What's amazing is that I know your wife, and I know that she would have answered the exact same thing quicker than you did.
Probably.
Like she wouldn't even let me finish the question. Last question, Ron, and then I would like to give me a moment, please, to congratulate you on how you handled yourself.
Okay.
Would you rather live your life as you currently do, or be a millionaire and have to blow a dude every morning?
I think I'm good with my life as it is right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you basically don't have any living room furniture and you were looking for light fixtures, and at the same time
We have light fixtures now.
Get out of here.
We got light fixtures installed today. Couches, who knows when they're going to show up, but
that's awesome. Ron, you have answered the internet, and I want to congratulate you.
Thank you. Hopefully the internet is pleased with the answers that I provided.
So far, they have. And I would like to point out this. William Esquire saying, it may not be your favorite photo of yourself, but this is our favorite photo of
Listen,
you.
I give and I give and I give, and I get it. I understand.
Though your wife did tell me last time we visited down there that you also take.
Apparently so. All right, Brian, we got a bunch of news this week. Where should we start off?
Oh, no. As a 51% owner of the Ron and Brian podcast, less I have to remind you, Ron, you get to decide where we're going. I simply can only react.
All right. Well, because this is America, we have more shootings going on during the week. Earlier this week, University of Virginia, there was a student that shot up members of the football team. 3 dead, 2 injured. Suspect was on the loose for a while, but they did eventually apprehend him. A man by the name of Christopher Darnell Jones Jr. He was arrested following a 12-hour manhunt after the shootings on the school's Charlottesville campus last Sunday night. Apparently, Mr. Jones had been on the radar of the school's chief of police in the fall of 2022. Since September, I think they said they had received some information saying that he had made a comment about possessing a gun. They followed up with the person who reported never seeing a gun with him. They followed up with his roommates who said they never saw a gun, but unfortunately, he obviously did.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tragic story. I mean, he's going with the defense of I was bullied by my teammates when I was on the team. He's not on the team currently, and as far as I know, he basically was holding some type of grudge. and basically showed up to the team bus and just shot it up, killing 3 people.
Yep. 2 were
This is
declared
America.
dead.
This is this is the reality of what Americans have to deal with.
Two were declared dead on the bus. 1 was declared deceased at a local hospital. So Jones now faces 3 charges of second-degree murder for killing Devin Chandler, Lavelle Tyler Davis, and Deshaun Perry.
This does not happen in other countries. It happens here in America, and it's offensive. You ask people, why would they celebrate? Why would they celebrate this terrible death? When would they celebrate? Here you got Janelle. She says she's going to celebrate this afternoon.
Yeah, you hate to see it. I mean, you
Just
really
terrible. Just terrible.
And then last night...
and that wasn't even the only mass shooting this week.
Last night, there was a shooting inside an LGBTQ nightclub known as Club Q in Colorado Springs. 5 people were shot dead, 18 others injured. There is a suspect in custody. Let me pull up the dude's photo here.
Oh, we have a photo of the guy that did the shooting?
So this is a photo of the person who did the shooting. I'm not seeing a name here, but this is his photo.
I can guarantee... Oh, no. They've released a name. You keep talking. I will get the name.
All right. I had the name, and then I don't know what I did with it. So the Club Q is located about 7 miles away from downtown Colorado Springs, was hosting a variety of musical acts. When the shooting started, numerous ambulances and firefighters responded. I don't think there has been any motive listed as of yet.
Do we need to pretend that we don't know what the motive is?
I mean,
Ron, you're looking at a photo of Anderson Lee Aldrich, who last year, his own mother called 911 requesting police assistance because he had threatened her life, stating that he had a gun and a homemade bomb and was going to blow the house up and was going to kill her. Yes, absolutely, Gabby. This is a bastard. This is the worst part. These are the worst people in America. Clearly, this gentleman was mentally disturbed, but that is not an excuse. He needs to burn in hell. We need basically to burn his skin in small increments to make it incredibly painful, and basically ensure that he has an excruciating death.
Normally I would, cut you off, but I'm okay with all that. And what is always amazingly frustrating is to see the constant tweets from politicians about thoughts and prayers for both of these shootings, while yet effectively doing nothing in regards to gun control, mental health, anything of that nature.
Well, you've got politicians that are going to act absolutely surprised and will sit there and send out tweets and post on Facebook about how we never would have, we would have had no idea that something like this could happen in our small town. Yet, having fought vigorously for unencumbered gun laws, absolutely no, checks for people to get their hands on these weapons of mass destruction, and at the same time, these very same politicians are frequently making comments of hate based on other Americans. They're making they are passing judgments on how other Americans live their lives, without harming other people. The level of anger and hate that has been ratcheted up by politicians, and at the same time will immediately follow back up after any one of their followers decides to carry out some type of attack. It's just a shock of like, oh no, this is so disturbing. We would have had no idea that this ever would have happened.
Right. I mean, you've got politicians that, support things like the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, restricting rights for transgender kids, things of that nature. And then they're shocked when, some mentally ill person goes and, shoots up an LGBTQ club. Can't imagine why that would happen.
Oh my God, this is terrible. Thoughts and prayers to the
Yeah.
victims and their families.
All
Ugly.
right. Well, we'll see
And
what
somehow, listen,
Yeah.
somehow Lauren Boebert won her election.
by
mean-
amazingly by a narrow margin, but she got
Fuck
reelected.
Colorado. Fuck Colorado. Right off the bat. Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure. She is a House Republican.
She is, yes.
So she's got a small district. She's not representing the whole state in the Senate.
No, she is not. She's got a small district. And again, I think people were shocked that it was as close as it was. But again, there was still clearly a few hundred more people willing to vote for her than her competitor.
And her husband also was arrested for exposing his penis to children. Is that
He
correct?
did. He is, yes.
No,
He's a registered sex offender, yes.
Got it. I just want to make sure that she is married to a registered sex offender while people vote her back into power. Okay, great. Just making sure this is America.
Speaking of sex offenders, Jennifer Siebel Newsome, wife of California Governor Gavin Newsome, testified this week in the latest Harvey Weinstein trial, talking about how Weinstein allegedly raped her in 2005 at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills. We've got a photo of Ms. Newsome there. So this is how she described the attack, or actually, excuse me, this is how she described, the Weinstein's physique. She said, quote, "Lots of bruises, markings, yellow and green, lots of stretch marks on his belly. Very not physically fit at all. Looked uncircumcised and strange, though. Kind of fish-like, the penis. Something was distorted in the testicles. Lots of skin down there." That is a visual that personally I did not need, but we are all now going to have to live with.
The thing is with the Weinstein trials is that the descriptions of his genitalia keep coming out, and they are, how do I say this politely? They are consistently further and further away from what I have understood a male penis to be supposed to look like.
Right.
And nobody is addressing how does a man's penis end up looking like the way it's being described. Harvey Weinstein obviously is not going to be stepping forward to give an explanation.
No.
But it's not, I mean, it literally sounds as if like he's just got a mass of flesh that is not penis shaped, but that he is, I don't know, somehow using to penetrate women. Excuse me, actresses.
Yeah, I mean it's as disturbing as it is in general. When you hear the descriptions like that, becomes even more disturbing. Brian, do you remember earlier this year a man stole a plane and threatened to crash it into a Walmart in Tupelo?
Oh, yes, I do remember that guy.
Well, he has now died in federal custody. Corey Patterson, age 29. He was at the Federal Detention Center in Miami, Florida.
Around.
He was
looping
yes.
around, and they couldn't figure out what he was doing. He kept saying, "I'm going to crash into Walmart." And the FBI, I think it was, finally talked him into just landing.
Yes. So he was in Miami. He was there for a psychological evaluation, and apparently was found unresponsive at about 1:20 p.m. on Monday. Staff at the prison attempted life-saving measures, but he was pronounced dead there. And there has been no explanation about his cause of death as of yet.
Ron, out of respect to Gloria Estefan and her husband, Carlos,
Okay.
Can you please refer to that city as Miami?
Miami?
Because when when we're thinking about the 305, you Anglos are going to call it Miami.
Right.
But it's a true sign of disrespect to us locals. The people who have lived here on Calle Ocho, sipping our cubanos, and having our horchatos, and it's Miami.
Yeah, right. We'll keep that in mind. Again, while the cause of death has not been released, family said that memorials may be made to the Mississippi Alliance to End Suicide. So I think the assumption is that he may have taken his own life. But again, if he is in federal custody and he is at a location for a psychological evaluation, and it's the middle of the day. They find him at 1:20 in the afternoon.
Sure.
Like, how is he left alone and left to his devices long enough to manage to do harm to himself?
Okay, can I have a moment?
I always.
Okay,
All you
now,
have to do is ask.
I understand that the federal government has a prison complex in Colorado. I believe it's in Florence. I could be wrong, but it's what they call supermax, and it is where they send the worst of the worst. That is where you've got your Ramsey Youssef, who blew up the World Trade Center the first time, who then had a plan for, I think it was 13 airlines that he was going to take down. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, is in Florence, Colorado. But it is my understanding of Supermax over there is you are in a concrete cell. Everything is concrete.
Right.
Your bed, concrete. You have you basically have a toilet that is made out of metal, but there is absolutely no material that you are allowed. You are in your cell 23 hours a day. You are allowed 1 hour of supervised recreation outside, 1 hour a day. Even the warden of that prison has referred to it as a living hell.
Correct.
Now, with that said, putting that aside, I would imagine that anybody who is, how do I say this, not a career criminal and who is sentenced to a very lengthy or expects to be sentenced to an extremely lengthy prison term, that as soon as they are incarcerated, understands that their incentive at that moment and from every moment forward is to figure out ways to commit suicide.
Okay.
So you've got this kid who, for whatever reason, decided he was ready to die. He was just done with this life. And he thought he was going to hijack an airplane, small, 2 engine, 1 engine, no engine. I don't know planes. Aeronomically,
Right.
I'm quite stunted. But he was going to crash into a Walmart. I don't know. Maybe he was a Kmart stockholder who realized that Walmart killed his portfolio. But
Okay.
this guy decides he wants to die. He gets arrested because he changes his mind, but then realizes, holy shit, dying in the Walmart plane crash would have been way better than spending the rest of my life in prison. That guy's going to do everything to figure out, how am I going to kill myself?
Right, and that part I get, but it's also part of the job of the law enforcement to not let them do that. I mean, you look at like Darrell Brooks, the person who was just sentenced for driving his car into the parade goers
Sure.
in Wisconsin. They brought him to court for his sentencing, and they had him in what they call a turtle suit, which you can kind of see in the photo here. So I mean, he's in solitary confinement, and so they put inmates in this outfit specifically so that they're unable to harm themselves.
Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go.
Now this guy, I don't think we ever talked about the Darrell Brooks case as it was going on, but this guy, he deserves to rot in a cell for as long as possible, and he won't be. He'll never be in general population.
Hold on. Are you also not acknowledging that this man needs to be in a mental health? I mean, I know Billy has lined up the comment how Ronald Reagan absolutely obliterated the nation's funding for mental health facilities. But this man doesn't belong in prison. This man,
But
what
Brian,
he
here's the thing,
did- hold
Brian.
on.
Brian, if I may interrupt you for one quick second, and I'm gonna throw my 2% in here. He number one, he was
Throw your
judged.
59% in. Throw your 59% in. Don't just stop at 2%. We all know you own 51% of this podcast. Throw the whole 51% in.
But not only was he judged mentally competent to stand trial, he was also determined that he was mentally competent to represent himself at trial. Now, he is an incredible asshole and he believes in this sovereign citizenship and he's got some way, but he has been proven that he has the mental capacity to understand right and wrong and what he did. And he's just an evil, sick bastard who deserves to, suffer for the rest of his life.
If you watch these interactions that he had with the presiding judge in his case, I would argue that this man is fit to stand trial. His hold on reality is tenuous, to say the least. Now, I will say this, where I think I differ from the modern judicial system. I could care less whether somebody is mentally sane or not. I believe we should be judging people based on the crimes they committed, not whether they are mentally sane or not, to be held accountable for the crimes they committed. For instance, I believe that John Benet Ramsey's father should be in prison right now for the rape and murder of his daughter.
Okay.
Do not. What?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was hoping you were going to cut me off at that point because I have no idea that John Benet's father is responsible. But this guy's fucking crazy. I don't care what a psychiatrist says. This guy's he's a fucking nut job. This guy decided that he was going to get into his Ford 250 pickup and drive head first into a public parade and to see if he could kill as many people as he could. I mean, this is not an act of a sane man. This is an act of a crazy person. He should be made to suffer. Ideally, maybe orange, maybe in an orange jumpsuit. Maybe green is too good of a color for him. Maybe this prison guard that's standing right here should fucking stab him in the throat with a box cutter. I'm okay with all of these possibilities. This man should not be alive. This man should be executed immediately. But to sit there and say that he is sane and that he understands the court proceedings, I mean, that's a fucking joke.
Well, and I think what happened was I think he wanted to represent himself. I think, he had these delusions of grandeur that he could represent himself. And then when he got deeper into the trial and realized how fucked he was, he did everything possible to try and rattle the prosecution and rattle the judge and leave some sort of opening for him to fight his conviction on appeal.
So what you're saying is you and I both agree that the mentally ill should be executed.
I don't believe that's what we're saying.
No, I feel like you and I are basically saying the same thing.
No, I don't believe that's what we're saying.
How not? Because I feel like we're so close to each other right now.
And actually, he's going to suffer more being in prison because number one, anybody who is a child killer, which this guy is, does not fare well in general population. So he will probably spend most of his time in solitary. And in addition to that, he has been ordered to pay restitution to the families involved. So even if family members put money on his account for him to get items while he's in prison, the prison's going to garnish that. If you get these nut job people out there that send in donations and things, I mean, he is going to not have any ability to purchase anything other than what is given to him by the prisons.
Ron, do you not agree that next week, when we do our After Dark Can You Beat Ron, do you not agree that we should do $25 to go towards his commissary?
I can't agree to that. No, unfortunately, I can't.
Come on, don't you think that he needs some, hot cheat? I don't know.
Brian, more importantly, Brian, let me ask you.
Yeah.
What are you watching?
Ooh, first off, Ron, what am I watching? The World Cup.
Okay,
Starting
soccer.
today, I mean, every 4 years, this is the moment where I have an erection for literally 30 days unencumbered.
You
It
should really
is
see a doctor
rock.
about that.
Oh no, it is rock hard. You could break a table over it. Earlier today, host country Qatar, also known as Qatar, depending on whether you are racist or not against the Middle East. I call it Qatar.
Okay.
But some people call it Qatar, and I don't know the right answer. Host country took on Ecuador, or as a lot of people call it, Ecuador.
Okay.
And in one of the first, in modern age, host country Qatar lost 2-0 to
Wow.
Ecuador, costing Brian $25 against his buddy Mike that he bets with. Because goddamn, Brian can't catch a break at any point. But I am watching the World Cup. I may not watch every game, but I will
Okay.
be betting on every game, and I will be following it, so you can pay attention.
I'd be curious to
Also,
see.
Yes.
I'd be curious to see where you end up at the end of the World Cup.
Oh, I will lose money because I just don't have good gambling luck. But it is what's fascinating, without changing the subject, but I think we'll be talking about it in the last couple of minutes of the show, is how the host country Qatar decided to ban alcohol sales 2 days before the World Cup started, despite Budweiser having already paid. That's right, people. $75 million to FIFA to sponsor the World Cup and be the official beer of the World Cup.
That stings a little bit.
I am also watching The Crown. I am currently up to season 5. Listen, I'm going to tell you, Ron, as somebody who has visited London, who has stood on the soil of England, who has experienced what is the immensity of Great Britain, I'm going to say that I have officially aligned myself Team Anglophile. The Crown
Okay.
is the Crown is literally my it is my input into what is England. And season 5 is really where we start to experience the disillusion, or how do I say, the ending of the marriage between Prince Charles and Princess Diana. We are introduced to Dodi Fayed. We are understanding, the famous Sarah Ferguson toe sucking extravaganza. Ron, are you not into toe sucking?
I mean, I remember the tabloid stories, so just takes me
Have
back
you
a
ever
bit.
sucked a toe, Ron?
I have, yes.
Oh my God. We're going to save that. Okay, people. Now, Ron, you pitched it earlier today as we're going to talk about After Dark. If
Stay
you want
on.
to
Stay
hear,
on. What are you watching? Just stay on. What are you watching? Don't you're going on a tangent again.
no, Ron, because if I know that I am not the only one that wants to hear. Son of a bitch. But season 5 of Netflix, The Crown, I am halfway through and very into. It stars one of the guys from The Wire,
Okay.
whose name I don't know, who pretends to be. All right, whatever. Yeah, I would want to watch Ron sucking a toe.
Besides that, what else are you watching, or was that everything?
World Cup and The Crown. That's
All right.
it, Ron.
Very good. Very good.
Ron, other than
Yeah.
sucking toes, what are you
Yes.
watching?
So let's see. So I had a flight this week. As we know, I was out in Vegas for a conference. On the way out, I
Don't
watched.
talk Vegas. Talk
Not
what
yet.
we're watching.
So out on the flight out, I watched Thor: Love and Thunder, one of the Marvel movies that I still had to catch up on. I think this was one of the more poorly rated Marvel movies, and I could see why. It was a decent movie, just not. I think you would have hated it. I think it was a little overdrawn at times, but it was a good way to kill 2 hours on a flight.
Sure.
One thing I will recommend is the new docuseries on Netflix called Pepsi, Where's My Jet?
Oh, I saw the preview for it. I put it on my list. I want to watch it.
So it is. It's only 4 episodes. To be perfectly honest, they probably could have wrapped it up in about 3.
Sure.
But it is the story of when they did the Pepsi points promotion back in
Yes.
1995. They did a commercial where they jokingly said, for 7 million points, you can get a Harrier jet. But they put no disclaimers on it. So you had this young kid that wanted to get the jet, found a loophole as to how to get the points needed, and also had an investor that cut a check for the jet. And the ensuing lawsuit between John Leonard, the gentleman's name was, I believe, and Pepsi. And then who pops up as being involved in all of this? But Michael Avenatti, who, while on house arrest, is interviewed for this docuseries. Manny Pacquiao shows up at one point. I mean, It is. I don't want to spoil it, but it's one of the better docuseries out there. Again, it's a little long at times, but 4 episodes of enjoyment. And then watch the first episode of Fleischman is in Trouble on Hulu. That's a new series starring Jesse Eisenberg, Claire Danes, Lizzie Kaplan, Adam Brody.
Is that the one where he takes those 2 girls to bed and has a threesome for I think it's 8 episodes long?
Probably. The first episode just really seems to be him post-divorce, having a lot of sex. And I'm going to go on a limb and say I'm not a huge fan of Jesse Eisenberg. I think
nobody is.
I think he plays the same. He's the same character in every show that he's in.
He's still doing Mark Zuckerberg 18 years later.
Yeah. So if you like Jesse Eisenberg, if you like Claire Danes, you'll probably like this. I was 1 episode in, and that was all I needed.
Sure.
Jesse Eisenberg also wanted me to watch me suck a toe, apparently.
Ron, I think everybody wants. I think we are all distracted by the idea of you sucking a toe.
I think that's it. I'm not really watching much else right now.
But you sucked a toe once in your life.
I mean, if that's your takeaway, then yes. All right, what else do we have before we run out of time here? Can we talk about the massive flock of sheep in China that's been wandering around for 2 weeks?
Can we go to weird news?
We certainly can.
We need to.
So apparently, what part of China is this, Brian?
This is probably about 100 miles northeast of Beijing.
Okay. And so there has been a massive flock of sheep that have been walking around in a circle for almost 2 weeks straight in China's Inner Mongolia region.
And what is amazing is that it is almost, and scientists, there's a video of these sheep walking around in, where's it, Mongolia, you said?
Yes.
And the scientists say this is almost a perfect concentric circle. This is not, I mean, these are the stories where we realize that there is a greater life force that's, I'm not going to call it God. I will not call it Yahweh. I will not call it Jesus.
Okay.
This is not Mohammed. I mean, it could be any of it, but there is the acknowledgement of there's something greater than us, that you have this flock. I mean, this circle is perfect. Looking at it, I mean, this is a still of the video, and no human has an explanation for it.
And listen to this. There are 34 sheep pens at this particular farm where this activity is going on.
Sure.
Only the sheep in pen number 13 have been acting this way.
Lucky 13.
So yeah, but apparently some people say this could be caused by a bacterial disease called listeriosis, which is also known as circling disease. But again, for it to be, they'd be walking in a perfect circle. I have to think this is the end of civilization as we know it.
Ron, if the end of civilization is happening, I'm going and all I want to know is just like give me a couple days in advance.
Right.
And my plan at the end of civilization is this. I'm going to grab my lady because I want to make sure that, you know, I'm with her.
Sure.
She is in my presence as the last seconds flock.
Okay.
I will immediately jump on an Amtrak train.
Okay.
Heading down to Philadelphia. You and your wife will pick us up
Okay.
at the train station, probably the 30th Street exit, because you guys love that one.
That's easy for us to get back on the road from there. Yes.
The four of us the four of us drive away in your car. And then after that, it doesn't matter. Whatever
Okay.
happens, I'm completely. If I had to die tomorrow, I would like to die in your company.
I'm okay with that. Maybe we grab a little brunch first.
Are we talking eggs hollandaise, or are we talking like a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel?
I think hollandaise, something fancy for the end of civilization.
Sure, of
Makes
course.
sense.
I want some hash browns, some home fries.
So moving on in weird news, fans are allegedly upset over a clue that appeared on Celebrity Jeopardy this past week, with some calling it tasteless and insensitive. The game consisted of actors John Michael Higgins, Will Wheaton, and Joel Kim Booster. And we've got a screenshot of the question here saying, in 2021, fugitive Brian Laundrie ended his days in Florida's Miccohatchee Creek area, home to these long and toothy critters. Now, this is obviously the answer, Brian. What is alligators? But for some reason, they had to pull in Brian Landry, who obviously was hiding out there prior to committing suicide after he killed his girlfriend, Gabby Petito, in 2021. Seems like an odd way to get a clue for Florida.
Alex Trebek would have looked at this and immediately shut it down. He would have said,
So you're putting this on Mayim Balick. You're blaming Blossom for this getting out on the air.
Okay. I believe all women. I listen to all women. I mean, every hashtag you can come up with, Ron, I am on board with. But I mean, I just do believe that there's somebody who at Jeopardy who, you know, in the old days would have stepped in and said we cannot reference a murderer lightheartedly when discussing alligators.
Right.
By the way, Brian Laundrie allegedly shot himself in the head, and rating is gold.
Oof. Oofa. And now Gabby Petito's family has been awarded $3 million in a wrongful death lawsuit against Brian
Because
Landry's
of Jeopardy?
family.
Because of Jeopardy?
Not because of Jeopardy, because of the whole killing thing.
Oh,
right.
Oh, yeah, she got killed. Yeah.
Brian, I know one thing about you that many don't know, and that is you are a huge Swiftie. And you, along with thousands and thousands of people, were very upset this week with Ticketmaster and their handling of the release for tickets for Taylor Swift's new tour, selling 2 million tickets in a day, a record for any artist. But I guess part of the problem is with all of the different pre-sales that they do for her concerts, by the time the general public had an opportunity to purchase, they were unable to. You had people with their verified fan codes unable to secure any tickets. Brian, you've got input on this. You are our senior ticketing correspondent. I would expect nothing less.
as the senior ticketing correspondent of the Ryan Bryan podcast, when I was notified that Taylor Swift was playing a stadium tour concert, I immediately signed up for the verified Ticketmaster pre-sale. I signed up for all 3 shows at her local concert venue, which was MetLife Stadium.
Yes.
Holds about 50,000 concert attendees. I was put on a wait list because there were just so many people. At the end of the day, what we are looking at here is simply supply over demand, which is that there are more people interested in purchasing tickets than there are tickets to be sold. And what happens as a result of that, and specifically based on ticket, are you feeling okay?
I'm feeling good, thank you.
Because you're sniffling every time you breathe.
I'm a little stuffy tonight, so.
Okay, so when I said, "Are you okay?" Why would you say I'm fine? But
I am fine. I power through it, Brian. I have the strength of 10 men.
Because every 2 minutes I hear this.
It's the Coke, Brian. It's the Coke.
Oh my God, lay off the yayo. Okay, so I mean, this is what it boils down to, which is the fact that no matter how many different pre-sales and different levels of ticket access, there are more people trying to purchase. I mean, Taylor Swift is probably, I would say, one of the top 5 concert draws in the world today. So not only are you dealing with people who are trying to buy tickets because they're fans, but you also have people who are trying to buy tickets because they want to resell them.
Well, and I think that's the issue
resale
a lot of
market-
people have. Is I think people don't mind when they're losing out tickets to other fans that want to go to the show, but when you see the resale market and you literally have tickets being sold for $25,000, $45,000. In one instance, there were tickets listed for $95,000.
Yeah, you
just
can
insane.
list, but Ron, you can list tickets for any dollar value you want if you have the tickets.
Right.
That doesn't mean anybody is going to buy them. That doesn't mean there's anybody who is going to pay for them.
I understand that.
At the end of the day, this is all about buying a ticket and going to a concert, and how much are you willing to pay for that concert?
But
You know,
should it
you
have to
could-
be a case of being willing to pay above ticket value to go to a concert? You know, shouldn't there be a limit to? Because what I mean, I
Okay.
remember at
Ron,
one point.
Ron,
hold on, don't
can I-
interrupt me yet. Don't interrupt me yet.
No.
I remember at one point, like StubHub resale markets, you know, there were limits to the amount over the initial ticket price that you were allowed to charge in these marketplaces. And now that seems to just have completely gone away.
Okay, Ron, you and
Brian.
I are viscerally oppositely lined up on this one.
Yes.
Now, your wife gets to have sex with you for free.
Yes, she does, I suppose.
Okay. Now I show up to your house and I say, "Oh, I want to have sex with Ron." Should there be a limit monetarily to what you and your wife agree as the price you will accept for me to have sex with you?
I feel like this isn't apples to apples.
Okay. How do I make it so? Because at the end of the day, this boils down to I have something and I want to make money off of owning it because I'm looking to trade this for goods and services. And are there people out there who are willing to pay for the goods and services I'm looking for to exchange for this item?
So in your mind, capitalism people should just be allowed to charge whatever they want. There should not be a level playing field.
Ron, there is a level playing field. It is boiled down, but like this is my problem, is that people are getting tickets through Ticketmaster to buy these tickets, and they're turning around and saying, well, the resale value for this ticket is $11,000. Newsflash, people. Don't buy that ticket for $11,000. Don't buy it for 10. Don't buy it for 9, 8, 7, 5. Make that fucker who bought that ticket sweat his balls off because he doesn't even give a shit about Taylor Swift, and then buy it for $400. That's the problem. Is the fact that we act like this consumer has no power. We act like the buying public has zero influence on the price of an item, when at the end of the day, if collected, if acting as a unit, they can all agree on what they're willing to pay for something, then it absolutely rights the ship.
All right. I think this is something we're just going to have to agree to disagree on.
Same thing about sucking toes, Ron. I would never suck a toe.
All right.
You clearly are willing to suck a toe. So I think now is actually the most appropriate time for us to talk about Patreon.
It is, because we are about to wrap up this main episode of the Ron and Brian podcast. We are getting ready to move over to our After Dark episode, starting in about 19 minutes, and it is exclusive for our Patreon subscribers. If you go on over to ronandbrianpodcast.com and you subscribe at the bronze level or higher, that's $10 a month or more, you get to join us live on YouTube. It's a hidden link that we send over to you. If you get over to the website, you sign up. We can get you that link emailed prior to 9:30. But again, it is our saucier stories. I have a feeling we'll be talking about toe sucking stories a little bit more. I feel I have questions coming from Brian and our Patreon subscribers. But it's just a lot of fun as well. Once a month, every month at the last Sunday, Brian alluded to it earlier, we have a pajama party where we have all of our Patreon subscribers join us on the show, and we'll be doing Can You Beat Ron, a contest where people literally try to beat me in some trivia-based question. I think you're doing a Thanksgiving-themed Can You Beat Ron this year?
No, it is all about a toe sucking. It's all about toe sucking.
All right.
It is all about like ingrown toenails, foot fungus.
But this time's gotta stop.
All right, and on that note, I think it's probably as good a time as any is to wrap this episode up and get ready for After Dark. Thank you all for joining. Brian, anything else you have for us for this week's episode?
God damn, this is a great episode. I think it's important that we embrace the people who don't necessarily, agree with us 100%. I mean, we talked about mental health. We talked about the criminal system. We talked about sports. We talked about elections.
There was a lot. There was a lot that went on.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, and I think this is one of the most, important lessons that I would like to put out there for people, is the fact that, it's not about your personal political leanings. We've made it as a society. This is who I am. No, this is really just about, Ron and Brian, we get out there and we talk about what needs to be talked about, and we encourage people to disagree with us.
There you go.
Like right here, when I said earlier, Ron, that I thought you were a beautiful man, Gabby said bastard.
Well, again, everyone's entitled to an opinion, and we agree with that.
And we encourage it.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving this week.
Sure.
And we will catch everybody next Sunday night.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com.